Today on Locked On Red Wings, Sam McGilligan of McKeen's Hockey joins me to profile Dalibor Dvorsky and Matthew Wood.
You're Locked On Red Wings, your daily podcast on the Detroit Red Wings. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Red Wings podcast. We are your hosts, Brian Fisher. You know what? That's I'm so used to that being my standard intro. But I am your host, Brian Fisher, podcast producer for the Daily JWWJ News Radio podcast. And today I am happy to be rejoined by Sam McGilligan of McKeen's Hockey. Scotty is out today. Sam was more than happy to
co-host.
Join me. And co-host. You're filling in the co-host seat today. I don't know how to do this. I'm so used to having like a structured opening and intro that without Scotty here, I'm like, what am I doing? How am I supposed to do this? But thank you,
Scotty.
Thank you, Sam, for being Scotty today. And thank you for coming back on to profile a couple more guys with us.
As always, thank you for having me.
Of course. Before I get to that, also got to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Is there either one of these two guys, that being Dalibor Dvorsky or Matthew Wood, that you want to lead off with? Somebody that you're a little bit more passionate about? You kind of teased it a little bit before we started recording that you had some thoughts on these guys, and I'm interested to get into that.
Okay. I don't actually lead which way or the other here. So I'm going to go with Matthew Wood just because he's the bottom name on the graphic and I looked bottom up for some reason. Okay, Matthew Wood. Where do you start with Matthew Wood? You start with the good, which is the insane production in college as, I believe, the youngest player, if not like second or third youngest. I'm pretty sure that people have ran that youngest player in college hockey point home quite a bit. And he did score a lot. He looked like he can score. There's no denying that. At the college level, this guy is a fantastic player to have. If your outlook is in the next 3-4 years, not in the NHL, Matthew Wood is as good as a lock to be an impact player. When you get to the NHL, he's going to play, and he's not going to be some waiver wire guy. Saying this alone makes me kind of think I might be underselling him on my own list a bit. Matthew Wood is an interesting player because he's a bit of he doesn't have a lot of what I'm looking for, what I'm visioning a team that I want on the ice. It's the modern NHL, right? You want guys with speed. You want guys with dynamic ability who can threaten inside moves and outside moves and really keep defenders on their feet and guessing and things like this. This is just not Matthew Wood's game. There are highlights that make it seem like it is, but if you really are paying attention to what's going on, a lot of times it's like defenders leaving too much space and they shouldn't have, or a defensive stick comes out too early and Wood sees it coming. He has a very interesting approach where he'll drive into traffic a lot and just try and stick handle his way out. Not a lot. It's not something you see every game or something like this, but he does have a habit of this where he's got the puck and there's not a whole lot of play options. So his option is just to kind of drive forward. He's not the most agile guy laterally. So a lot of his game is kind of built on the north-south. He moves east and west too, don't get me wrong, but he doesn't do so with any sharpness. There's no separation coming from it. His footwork isn't bad. It just there's not a whole lot coming from it as a result. He's not really gaining that separation. So he's driving into traffic. He tries to stick handle his way out. His handling is this, for what it's worth, long term, I don't think is concerned. Right now, his handling is this kind of interesting mix where it works sometimes and looks really good and clean, which makes sense because he's a catch and release shooter. And those guys have fantastic catch mechanics. That's literally half of the catch and release is the ability to catch pucks and corral them in and make plays out of that quick movement. One motion, maybe two motions. That's it. That part of his game will exist forever. But when he's starting to mix in the faster handling and setting up curls and toe drags and this is where my optimism isn't as high as others. Others might disagree. They might see him being able to blend it and work it out. and add that part to his game permanently. I wonder if, because he also doesn't have the most explosive skating, does this part of his game kind of regress because he's not going to be able to stick handle through traffic? Like, he'll sometimes take on 2-3 guys at a time with very little options around him. And it's not going to work in the NHL. One guy is all it takes when you're a slower player who is not perfect with his handling. One guy is all it takes to take the puck away from you. He's not the fastest at getting back into position. He's big, but he doesn't play like your typical, like people keep saying like, oh, we need a goal scorer with size. He's not a power forward. Like, you're not seeing Matthew Wood put the puck on his back and just drive through guys. You're seeing Matthew Wood use his reach and use his size to protect the puck, but he's not creating space or driving through space, controlling the puck. It's more so just like, oh, this guy's here. I'll kind of turn this way. He's got, like I said, like, he's got crafty footwork and pivots, but there's just not a whole lot of movement coming from them. And there's also just blatant examples, again, like, I don't think this lasts long term, but where he gets the puck and he kind of really mishandles it and just kind of loses it under very little pressure, sometimes no pressure, which just can happen for some players. But it felt like, unless I have the worst sample ever, it happened to Wood more. And yep, go.
You were mentioning like all the things that you don't like, and it's interesting because you don't seem to have as high of an opinion as a lot of the other people out there. A lot of people have him going in the mid-teens, early 20s. I see him going by McKeen's Hockey, which is who you write for, has him ranked as high as 10th. But then you go and you look at something like Dobber Prospects, and they have him ranked as low as 33. Like, you can, and this is the problem with this draft, is there's so much good talent that people are kind of all over the place, and you're not going to know where people fall until literally draft night. We were DMing about this back and forth. So what is his ceiling? Like, even given all the things that you're not necessarily sold on with Matthew Wood, if he can get the game together, where do you see him being on an NHL roster? Like, his middle six, you think?
Yeah. I say that in a good way, not a bad. Like, some people hear middle six and they instantly just write it off because it's boring. But realistically, that's what most of these guys are going to be. The path to stardom in today's NHL as a player with slower feet is really tricky and requires no art, no debates, an incredible level of puck control that would sometimes flashes, but would need to take I would say borderline unprecedented improvement in, as it's most players, like 95% of them don't take that leap. So it's hard to just like kind of slam it in there, but it can happen. He needs to find another level of explosiveness. But I think the biggest thing is like actually adding the power dynamic to his game. That's the one that you can see happening because he is a bigger guy, and he, like, the framework is there for it to happen. So that's the most realistic one. And I think that could really unlock him into more of a second line role. Now, there's also the obvious, and I didn't mention this part because, this is the good part. He's an unbelievable goal scorer. He's got a fantastic shot. I think we're entering an era of the NHL where having a fantastic shot is not enough. We've kind of already been there, but now it's getting more and more to the point where shooters need to be able to get into their space before the shot comes, and to do that they need to outmove defenders around them, and if you don't have the feet for it, they're basically just relying on things outside of their control to hopefully find the space they need, and then they slide right into it. And Wood will be able to do that in the NHL. It's just like, how often are you going to be able to do it?
So what you're saying is players like Dominic Kubalik are a dying breed because players need to be able to predict where the puck's going before it's there.
Yep. Wood reads the game that way well. Like, this is not a weakness of his as well, but it's just like, this is why it's so obvious when you watch him in college hockey. Granted, a bunch of his points come off the power play. He will still be an effective power play player. I have zero doubt in my mind about that. He's a power play 2 kind of guy. Number one if things really go well. But I think you would hope for a more dynamic player on power play 1. Either way, what you do find is that what's a great example? What I'm trying to think of. There's you know, let's just roll with Dominic Kubalik. It doesn't matter how good you are at being able to do these things and how much production you can get from it outside of the NHL if you just don't have the speed to outmove some of these NHL defenders and defensive forwards. Like these guys, the skating bar right now in 2023 is already so high. When this draft is entering the NHL in 4 years, it's higher. It's only going to improve and improve and improve. And the lower skating, it's a flip of the coin because both arguments make sense. Skating is arguably the easiest thing to develop after the draft. Getting players skating to what they need to be to make their game functional at a high level is a bit questionable. For what it's worth, he's also a really good small area passer.
Okay.
Not like he's really good at that. That's where he shined at the U18s. And this is like the Celebrini duo that he formed, where he and Celebrini just scored so many points for Canada. They typically linked up on the kind of against the weaker teams. Celebrini is a play driver incarnate. If this guy isn't first next year, it's only because there's arguably a better Russian player than Matvei Michkov, and he's a monster like I've hardly ever seen.
Assuming he can come over from Russia.
Yeah.
That's the big question mark these days.
And even then, the NHL won't take Ivan Demidov above Macklin Celebrini. So for this conversation, Macklin Celebrini is going first next year, right? And there's an abundance of reasons as to why. All of them are because he's one of the most incredible two-way players I've ever seen at 17. It's just mind-boggling how good he is. When you're stapled to a guy like that, and you can trust him with impunity to solve all the detailed problems around the ice and know where you are, it becomes easier to get the right timing for your cuts into the slot and get all those little space pockets that you need to find your shot. And it also creates a lot of space for Wood to work with. Now, Wood definitely created as well. There's no debate about that. It's just like U18, if you can create against college kids, you kind of expect Matthew Wood to also do at the U18s when you're playing Germany, Latvia, like these types of, you're expecting this. So him doing well isn't this huge testament. It's also definitely not a detraction. Like you can't even try and argue that.
He performed as expected almost. So it's like it's not a bad thing, but like good. You should be kind of.
Yes. And if someone else was paired with Celebrini, which to his credit, there's a reason why he was picked and he fulfilled that role beautifully. So you can't take it away from him. But just in a hypothetical, if it was Andrew Crystal who was given a bunch of games against Macklin Celebrini, he would have popped for a different reason. Like it would have happened, and Wood still would have found moments of success elsewhere in the lineup that would have people very optimistic. I think there's a big chance Matthew Wood makes me look back at him as an interesting case study and learn from it, because I don't think I see myself taking him over quite a few players, but I absolutely see the possibility of him being better than them.
Gotcha. We got to take a quick break. We're joined by Sam McGilligan of McKeen's Hockey. But when we come back, I have like a two-parter question, wrapping up the Matthew Wood conversation. Then we'll move on to Dalibor Dvorsky. But first, I got to talk to you guys today about Birddogs. Guys, Birddogs was nice enough to send me a couple pairs of shorts in the mail, so I could try them out for you guys and let you know exactly how awesome they are. And, when you're getting shorts sent to you, like, oh, cool, free clothing. But then I tried them on, Sam, and they were next level. And I'm speaking from the heart. Like these are my favorite pair of shorts immediately, because one's like a more polyester blend, one's a cotton blend. They're designed to look like khaki shorts, so you can wear them wherever you want. But they feel like gym shorts, so they're comfortable and look nice. So they fit any situation. You can, I tell Scotty all the time, they were perfect for when I was helping my grandfather put the boat in the water. I could wear them into the water because they have the underwear is built in. So you don't got to worry about getting your underwear all wet. You can wear them into the water. You come out, they dry in 20 minutes. They look like khaki shorts, so you can just go back in the house and chill. They were perfect for like any situation. If you want to wear them golfing, go for it. If you want to wear them laying around the house, that's great too. The gym, I've rocked them at the gym. They're good for any situation, and they're almost, they come in different sizes, but with their stretchy material, they're basically one size fits all. So, guys, I can't tell you enough good things about Bird Dog shorts. So go to birddogs.com/LockedOnNHL and enter promo code LockedOnNHL for a free Yeti-style tumbler with your order. And I got that as well. And hey, it does its job real nice. That's birddogs.com/LockedOnNHL for a free Yeti-style tumbler. You won't want to take your Bird Dogs off. That is a promise. Segment 2, Locked On Red Wings podcast. I'm joined by Sam McGilligan of McKeen's Hockey. He is filling in for Scotty today. Scotty could not be here, unfortunately. But
Go Tigers.
Sam, go Tigers. Actually, I think he's covering high school sports today.
Go high school sports.
Yeah, he's covering the Detroit news stuff. But I have a question about Matthew Wood, because based on the conversation we're having and based on the rankings, it doesn't seem like he'd be a smart pick for the Detroit Red Wings to take at 9. But at 17, given what the Red Wings' needs are, which is essentially first and foremost forward depth and goal scoring, which you say is one of his strengths, do you think Matthew Wood is somebody that the Red Wings should look at, even maybe take at 17?
Yeah. Which is wild. It's funny because it's a great example of the difference of just like what you think as an observer from afar and then what you think when you start thinking about a specific team. Detroit is one of the teams that I think should show a little bit more interest in Wood than others. And even though I wouldn't do it, I still think it's a smart move because you guys need goal scoring. You guys have guys like Lucas Raymond out there who Lucas Raymond, I haven't actually thought about these two together, but it's not the most ideal duo. But Raymond does a lot of the things that Celebrini also does in terms of the play driving. He doesn't do it through the middle as much because he's a winger. But I think between Larkin or Casper, or let's say you draft an Oliver Moore or something at 9, you find a center that you can pair in, get speed on both other line mates. And I think the third guy, basically you can circumvent Wood's lack of mobility if 2 other guys have it. That seems to be the way they get 2 slower guys on a line and you're in trouble. But you got 1 slower dude on a line who's really smart with how he positions himself and reads the play well and trusts his teammate and makes more impact with each touch rather than a high volume of touches to make an impact. You got yourself a good player. Wood goes into an environment like that and he's going to make me sound like an idiot. There's still like some questions, but I think a lot of those things are 50-50s at the very least, or more in his favor of working out development. And then it's all about like finding the right role for him. Where does he play?
Yeah.
Like you could be.
But I think, too, to your credit, with what you're saying, yes, the Red Wings first and foremost need goal scoring. But the same side, Derek Lalonde wants to implement a defensive first system. And you've already stated that you don't think Wood has that kind of defensive game to him.
He's not bad defensively. Like he's smart there. You can see the reads he makes. It part of it's come as he progressed over the year. This is something that he's really impressed me with. And I mean, his skating did get better over the year too. If we're talking progression, I feel like I trounced on him a bit earlier, and I don't give him fair shake for the progression he took there, which he absolutely did. I think if both of these continue their upwards trajectory, you do have a player who can contribute more in the defensive zone. Plus, guys just not having it at 18 defensively and then having it just through sheer effort by the time they're 24 and their coach is, screaming at them, they tend to fix this. And I don't think Wood is something. I don't think it would scare the Red Wings away from Wood. I think, however, that might redirect them to a different player. I don't know who that would be.
Mm-hmm. We're going to actually take another quick break because we're already up to segment 2. Segment 2's break. But when we come back, we're going to dive into Dalibor Dvorsky, because this is a guy, Sam, that you just can't get a read on where he'll go. Some people say top 10. Some people are like late teens. So we're going to talk about that. But first, I got to talk to you guys today about Gametime. Gametime is the place for the last-minute ticket deals. Forget planning months in advance. Gametime has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event. Get exclusive flash deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. The Gametime guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Gametime will credit you up to 110% of the difference. Get images of your seat before you buy so you know exactly what to expect. when you arrive. Buy tickets in a matter of seconds, 2 taps, and you're set. Tickets are sent directly to your phone, so you never have to dig through your email. Snag the tickets without the stress with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Segment 3, Locked On Red Wings podcast. I'm joined by Sam McGilligan of McKeen's Hockey, and we talked about Matthew Wood. Let's talk about Dalibor Dvorsky now. Oh, yeah. Dalibor Dvorsky, 17 years old. He is a center/right wing, 6'1", 201 pounds, left-handed shot. And this past year, with the Hockey Allsvenskan is my best attempt at
Allsvenskan. You're actually pretty close.
Oh, so close. Over there in Sweden, he had 14 points in 38 games played, 6 goals, 8 assists. Sam, this is a guy, I teased it before we began. He is ranked as high as like 9th by TSN, Bob McKenzie's mid-year list. TSN, Craig Button has him ranked at 9th. But then Diver Prospects has him ranked at 17th. Smart Scouting has him ranked at 19th. This is a guy that's kind of all over the place. And I'm be honest with you, I have no idea how to grade him out. So what are your thoughts?
Okay. I have never really been on the Dvorsky train. And this quite literally predates the draft year. I remember hearing his name a couple years ago because he had borderline prodigious scoring numbers in the junior league. I believe it was the Swedish junior league. I think it was J18 when he was like 16 or 17 or something. He was just torching it. Basically, production has followed him everywhere the last couple of years. He's just been a monster in that regard. But there's a lot of reasons, like it sounds like it's the story of a generational prospect until 5 years after the draft is done and you realize that there's a reason why they stopped scoring. It's because oftentimes, like, some players develop earlier than others at these ages. Like, the only reason we're even talking about this is because so much of Dvorsky is based in what started 2 years ago. Let's fast forward to today. Dvorsky in the summer when I viewed him had me concerned because I wasn't like, I saw the production, I saw the hype, and I watched him and I was like, what? He scored 2 goals in the game that I watched too. And I was like, I think there was 5 plays that I was like, okay. And 2 of them were the goals. And one of them was just a rebound tap in. The other one was a nice shot. And okay, let's watch him throughout the draft year. All year long, I have gone in as like, this is the viewing, or Dvorsky's like, proves it to me.
He's going to sell me this game.
I don't think I ever had a single viewing where I was like, that's a top 10 guy. That's the guy I want to use a top 10 pick on. What is a top 10 pick, right? Like, it's a player you want to take that makes a massive impact to your franchise.
Yeah, like top 6 for top 4 defender, something like that.
Yeah. How these guys play in today's NHL. I mean, I don't need to rehash it because we literally just did it with Wood. It's the skating, it's the mobility, it's dynamic ability, it's lateral agility, it's off puck movement. It's all of those things. Dvorsky has some of this. Off puck movement around the net is a strength of his. He's pretty good at finding space for tap-ins. There's not a surprise he got that tap-in goal. I saw him score other ones. He's smart around the net. He is not a dynamic forward. He's actually a really good skater in terms of mechanics and technicalities. I'm not a specialist here, so I don't want to comment too much beyond that. I watch him and I don't look at him and go, you're a bad skater. He's not moving a whole lot still. Like, and I don't mean his feet aren't moving. His feet are moving, but he doesn't get the speed and acceleration or the agility you'd expect for a guy who has a clean stride like that. He looks like he's someone who's 200 pounds and maybe shouldn't be 200 pounds, but he's not out of shape. Like, he's muscle. Like, he's 200 pounds of muscle from what it seems like from video anyways. He's strong. He can go up against bigger guys. He doesn't look like a guy who's 200 pounds super comfortable going against them. So let's just iron that one out as it's new to him still going up against these guys. They have experience. All right, that's fine. What are you taking him in the top 10 for? He's got a good shot, but he's not the best shot. He can find space around the goal mouth. So can other guys. He's kind of good defensive. He's good defensively. So are other guys. He's big. That's not a reason to take a guy in the top 10. What does he do with the puck that makes you go like, that's the guy I need to have on my team? And I can't tell you why. I hate saying it like this because it makes me sound like kind of a jerk, but like I can't tell you why. I just don't see. I will say that I'll stretch it further. I personally don't see him as a top 20 guy whatsoever, and I haven't since like November. I don't even have him in my first round, if I'm being completely honest. Not like I don't think he's a bad first round pick. I think there at some point in the draft, some team will have the right, like, look at what we have in the prospect pool, blah, blah, blah. Like, some team will be able to justify the pick and it won't be that bad given who's on the board.
Well, for example, let's go back to my question about Matthew Wood. The Red Wings are there at 17. They need goal scoring.
No.
They take Dalibor. You think that one's a bad fit?
Yes. Dalibor Dvorsky, the Red Wings are a great fit for this because I've told you this before. I don't know if I've said it on the pod. I wasn't the biggest fan of the Marco Kasper pick. I don't hate the Marco Kasper pick because I can see him. He's absolutely going to play and he's going to be an above average impact player. He's also, you guys just work voodoo with development in Sweden or whatever. Maybe you guys do the same thing with Dvorsky.
He's better. It's Nicholas Lidstrom and Nick Cronwall being over there.
Yeah. Maybe you guys are one of the few that can really take him a step forward. But I still don't even think I recommend that one personally from afar because you did this strategy with Kasper last year. You're looking for you're kind of looking in the same boat. Like they're not the same player, but you want more. Kasper was leaned on the safe side, and then he's got some interesting raw tools, and Detroit obviously took him there because they think they can elevate this up and really go something crazy with it.
We're gonna see this year. Can't wait.
Yeah. I just can't be convinced that at either one of your first round picks, there is not a better set of options. Like, I don't even know if I would put him in the set or the tier or however you want to describe it.
So if you can't see why he's ranked, so highly by so many people, like not even top 10, top 15, what are you hearing other people say that has him ranked that high?
Okay, so almost all of it seems to come back to production and then the smarts. He's not a bad player in terms of reading the ice. I don't think he's exceptional. I don't think he's a better defensive reader than Oliver Moore is, for example. And I don't think he is better going forward in any way than Oliver Moore is. I don't even think he's he's got a harder shot, but I don't think he's a better goal scorer because I think Oliver Moore moves better in motion, and that shot is just like some strength away from being a missile. Whereas you kind of can question Dvorsky's in motion shot ever becoming a true threat because I don't know if he's ever going to find the space to get it. If he lost, I don't know if it's the weight or the extra muscle that makes him a bit slower, but if maybe he goes down 10, 15 pounds, you kind of might get some more speed. I'd be more interested in hearing if that's the case. So, NHL usually makes them heavier though, so I don't think it's going to work.
Let me ask you this comparison and tell me how off I am. But the Red Wings in 2018 took a guy 6th overall, who originally was thought he'd
2019. Come on.
19. Sorry. Originally, no. I'm talking about a different guy. I'm not talking about Phil. I'm talking about Philip Zadina, which is 20.
Oh yeah. Oh, whoops, sorry.
Not Moritz Seider. Philip Zadina.
Forgot you guys took him too.
Yeah. Well, my point exactly is Philip Zadina was taken as a guy who a lot of people thought would be this next level goal scorer because he had done it at the lower levels. And then we have yet, granted, the start of his NHL career has been wonky because of COVID and injury, but Is this a similar situation where you could see Dalibor Dvorsky being the 2023 version of Philip Zadina, where there's a lot of hype surrounding him? He starts sliding in the draft. People go, why is he sliding? And then 3 years into his NHL career, people are like, oh, I guess I can see why he's not as dynamic as everyone was saying he was.
Yeah, I could see that happening, but I don't think he slips. He's like I would say he's almost a top 10 lock. I think, as much as I don't want to say it out loud, there's a good chance he goes to Montreal at 5, and that bugs me. He's a Philadelphia Flyers type of player. He's a big center who is gonna play with a hard shot, with already guaranteed size, and has shown he can play against pros. There's a lot of different things you can talk about with him that NHL general managers typically look for. But like, I always scout from the perspective, and it's a bit of like I don't work for a team, so there has to be some level of just I'm drafting these players at 18. I'm not trying to guess who's going to be the best at 23 and order them. Who do I want to work with the most? I would need experts that I work with to be like, I can make him faster.
I can fix him.
Kind of. Like I kind of. And it's almost like a holy grail situation that doesn't really exist because things aren't this clean. But like, from afar, this is as close to it as I can get without starting to sound dramatic. He's not the type of player that I'm actively looking to add to my team without a notable speed increase. And even then, you're talking about dynamic ability with the puck. Really quickly, just to hammer out where I'm coming from with this, so I can say at least to top 20. So let's say it's now the 10th overall pick, and Ryan Leonard or something just went off the board.
If Ryan Leonard's there at 10, I'll actually, I guess I could see that.
Yeah, he might. There's just a good draft, right? So you got Ryan Leonard, who just went off the board at 10. These aren't ordered, but this is like the next group of names I have. Otto Stenberg, undeniably more dynamic, and played in the SHL and did it against SHL players rather than Allsvenskan players, and easily outplayed them versus how Dvorsky outplayed the Allsvenskan. Stenberg had problems at some stretch in the year, but he showed more than enough at the end to give more optimism, and he dominated the U18s. Dominated. Dvorsky also had a good U18s for what it's worth, but I go back to the Matthew Wood point. Stenberg was like driving the play and taking over these games, and did so against Canada and stuff like that. Great. Canada didn't have best defense either. Let's move on then. Quentin Musty, much more dynamic, also big, also a good skater, great shot, unbelievably creative with the puck, really feisty, and is going to piss off a lot of players. You've got guys like Daniil Butt, who is also gigantic, way more skill, tons of reach, and the ability to protect the puck there, and can change directions on a dime. He's a better skater. He's a bit awkward, but that's going to work itself out as he gets older. And some of the games where he's on, he's making the MHL. He looks like he's a 7-year pro sometimes, just dominating them. Other times he looks a little off. And in the KHL, you see the flashes, and you can tell KHL players who are actually playing the situation right are like, oh, wait, what did he just do? And it's like, okay. You got smaller guys like Perron, Gabe Perreault, Timur Mukanov, Riley Height, Alex Cernak. Like, I can just keep listing that. Actually, I'll go with Alex Cernak. That'll be the last one, specifically because he's also a Slovakian player who played in Allsvenskan. So they're actually like a fair comparison with one another. Alex Cernak is a better skater. Alex Cernak is the better goal scorer. You might argue shot is harder for Dvorsky, but I won't, because Cernak is much better shooting in motion. Cernak is more skilled. Cernak is not as well rounded physically in the defensive zone, but he makes up for it with his speed and his timing. He's better in transition. They're at best equal in motion passers, but I'm being generous with that. They're not in my eyes, but like I can see someone maybe arguing it. And I think Alex Cernak is a great pick in the later first round. And all of those traits, I think he beats out Dvorsky. And so I can't sit here and be like, I think Dvorsky is also a first round guy. He's just worse, not worse, but weaker in the areas that I am looking for specifically than his national teammate who played in the same league.
Gotcha. All right.
Yeah, like there are people who will hear this and will disagree with passion, and I don't.
That's one way to put it.
I don't want to make it seem like I think they're crazy because I don't. It's just comes down to like, why are you what are you even ranking players for to begin with? Have a list, okay, cool. Then put Dvorsky wherever you want. Are you actively? This is what an actual scout who works in the league does. Like they have their team, they have their goals, they know who they're working with. Like there's a bunch of variables that they know about ahead of time, and their lists are tweaked to fix it. So a guy who scouts for Detroit could work for Montreal in a year. The way he ranks his list would change, and the same goes like wherever you work. So I don't. Maybe if you worked for like Philadelphia, I would be like, yeah, okay, this is what we're looking for. I'd be much more higher on Dvorsky because big smash. But I'm interested in other guys. I want skill. I want mobility. I want deception. I want manipulation. I want off puck movement. I want pace. I want pace changes. I want things that I looked for almost a full year now on Dvorsky and haven't seen.
Mm-hmm.
And he's still going to play, and people will still make fun of me. It is what it is.
Well,
like, I'm fine with it.
Here's the end of it, though, Sam, is we're not going to know for sure whether you're right or wrong for like another 4 years, probably. Yeah. Maybe 2. Sometimes these players get to the NHL fast, but if he gets there in 2 years, then you'll know, like, hey, he must have done something right to get there faster. But I mean, we'll find out eventually whether your take is right or wrong. I'm sure there were people out there who were saying, don't buy into Filip Zadina. He's not as good as people say. And then here we are.
There were people, and I was on the Zadina fan train. I remember saying Detroit did well, and I remember, I've talked to some people about Zadina specifically. I just forgot that draft pick even happened because I wanted Montreal to take him.
I was so excited.
Yeah, I wanted Montreal to take him, and then I remember.
Don't worry, they made up for it last year. They took Slavkovsky first overall. So, Sam, thank you so much for taking the time to join me. We got to wrap it up. Where can people find your work? Where can people find you on the internet so they can tweet at you and call you a dum-dum?
If you would like to call me a dum-dum, the most efficient way to do so is on Twitter at Sam_McGilligan, McGilligan. I feel like I need to spell it sometimes because I've had some amazing butcherings of that. There will be a final ranking posting coming out within the next week or so. It's done. It's just in the editing stage. For once, I'm actually editing my work. It's top 64. It's long. Surprise. That will be released on sammcgilligan.substack.com. And occasionally you will find work from me on Puck Preps and McKeen's if my job doesn't take too much time from me.
Awesome. Sam, thanks so much for filling in for Scotty today. Guys,
go Wings.
Go Wings. That's the right thing. You should be saying that on all the podcasts you guest on, no matter who team it is. Just always end with Go Wings.
I will actually do this for the rest of the year. I don't know if I'm going on any other ones, but like if I end up going on, I will make sure everyone ends with a Go Wings.
Hell yeah. I love to hear that. Thanks, Sam. I appreciate it. That's why we bring you back on, honestly. You do things like that for us. Scotty and I will be back on Monday with a new episode, so stay tuned for that. Same time, same place. Your team every day.